Guess I should get the agenda out here. Call to order the Wednesday, July 27th meeting of the Design Review Subcommittee for the City of San Clemente. Has everyone here, you have not attended
No, this is
one
the
of
first
these?
one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll read a little prologue to say what we do here and what our responsibilities are. The purpose of the subcommittee is to provide direction, insight, concerns, and options to the applicant on how the project can best comply with the city's design guidelines and/or policies. The subcommittee is not an approving body. They make recommendations to the Planning Commission, Zoning Administrator regarding a project's compliance with city design guidelines. Each of the subcommittee members will provide input, suggest recommendations to the applicant based on written city guidelines and/or policies. The subcommittee will not design the project for the applicant, nor will the members always agree on the best course of action. The applicant can then assess and input and incorporate any changes accordingly, with the understanding that the subcommittee is strictly a recommending body. Planning Commission gets into zone changes, they get into the land uses, etc. We're here to discuss design guidelines and compliance with the urban design element and design guidelines.
Great.
So we have some minutes to approve. Did you get a chance, Steve, to review those?
I did.
Any changes or, nope, make a motion?
A motion that we approve the minutes.
I second. Vote by Mr. Camp.
Aye. And
vote by Crandall is an aye, so that is passed. We have one item on the agenda, Master Plan 22089, 654 Camino Los Mares, San Clemente Senior Housing and Medical Offices. Jennifer Savage is the staff planner on this project. So Jennifer, would you like to start us out?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So you saw this project in May, where the DRSC provided several comments related to design, both site planning and architecture. And those comments are included in the minutes you just approved, but also in the staff report that you have before you. Also in the staff report related to those comments are how the applicant has adjusted the project. Now, one thing to note is that at the May meeting, the applicant team presented the original design and some alternative elevations. So you will see some similarities between what you have presented before you and what you saw already. However, they have made some design changes to note, specifically maintaining the ocean view in the pedestrian paseo and removing the tower elements that were previously proposed. You will also see elsewhere in the plan set elevations for carports, both the majority of the carports that are away from the street elevation, as well as more architecturally designed carports at the street elevation. Because of the changes that the applicant has made, there are several general plan and design guideline policies that the project is now consistent with. There are a couple of design policies that the application is not yet consistent with, but the applicant team is working towards making those consistent or looking for alternatives. And so we are requesting this afternoon a recommendation from the DRSC that we can then forward to the Planning Commission. This concludes staff presentation, and the applicant is available for a presentation as well.
Very good. You've got the floor.
Good afternoon. I'm Ted Fertoni with Hunsaker & Associates. We're doing the civil engineering and entitlement planning for the project. We also have members of our design team here with us today. Kevin from TCA, the architect.
Good to meet you.
Blaine from C2, the landscape architect. Yep. And then Bob, the project manager, representing Memorial Kit. The main issues that we discussed at the last design review subcommittee were basically enhancements to the elevations. We focused on kind of the covered balconies and patios to have those pop-outs to articulate the front elevations and the side elevations. We also looked to add the details to the health center to tie that building in with the senior apartments. We focused on that entry portal at the Central Paseo to see if we could enhance that and kind of have a welcome to the project. And then also looking at enhancing the landscaping along the frontage of the project along Camino de las Mares. And the last thing, we also enhanced the carports along the Camino de las Mares frontage. Some of those items were in the alternatives that we showed at the last design review subcommittee, and then additional detail was added to our second submittal package that we officially submitted to the city in June. So the packet that we provided today shows the before and after, so we kind of have a view of what we had before and what we have now currently designed. A little bit about where we are in the process. We received comments on that second review package, and we're going through and addressing those and looking to resubmit a third package to the city. Hopefully that package is the package that goes to Planning Commission. So that's kind of where we are.
And what's the time frame on that?
Probably within the next month.
Okay.
Let's see, is there anything else to add, or do we want to kind of go through these?
Jennifer, do we have, did any of the public get to review the handout that we've received?
So, let's see, what you're looking at now, I think, is your package? Or
This is the handout that they gave us at
Okay,
the table.
so this is your handout, that's your package.
But did the public get to see that, or do you have slides of this?
There are slides of that for us to display for the public to review.
Okay, very good.
The actual
I want to make sure they're
printout
working with the
just
same
for
thing we've got.
Thank you.
Okay. Steve, do you have any questions of the applicant on this presentation, or shall we take public comment up front and then have an open discussion with them?
Do we have a kind of a side-by-side comparison of what you had?
That's
That's actually top
Is
and
that
bottom.
this one right here?
Yeah, just top and bottom.
So not side by side, but top
Yes,
and bottom like that.
So that was the original, this is the revised.
Okay.
So I think that these are all like that, top and
And
bottom.
then the last few sheets are the landscape plans, and that's actually, the first page is the original, the second page is the new proposal that went in with that second submittal. So to just kind of show the difference.
Okay.
So Mr. Camp, yeah, that would be the first page right there. You see the top, well, where we had it before, and now what it looks like below. That's the nasty.
And so what you'll see in this revised elevation are these additional patio details that help soften the elevation and provide some articulation. You'll notice that this tower element is now removed so that you can see through to the Paseo. In addition, there are comments from DRSC about maintaining the view through the buildings, but also providing some sort of indication that it's not a public thoroughfare. So they revised the actual amenities here at the Paseo to try and provide that visual separation
There's
from
a-
the public sidewalk.
And there's a 3D view of that in the package as well.
Yes.
Good enough.
You want to scroll up to the 3D view, so it's about
Yeah.
350. There we go.
There we go.
Or back one, I guess, even.
One more.
So a couple of things too that we wanted to try to achieve was breaking down some of the scale of the
And that's what we were concerned
the
about
length.
at the last meeting.
not only the length of some of the buildings, but also the short sides of these buildings, breaking them down, changing, the widths of the gables, some of the shed roofs, getting a little bit more of a casual, approach
That's
to
what
it.
the design guidelines recommend,
Yeah.
so that's the correct direction to go.
Breaking the plate heights, doing all the kind of things, give it a little bit more human scale, less of a civic scale. So,
Okay. Has the density changed at all?
no,
Same number of
I
units?
don't believe.
Same, no,
Yeah,
it's
same
the-
number of
that-
units.
That's not changed.
Okay, so still it was 250?
250.
250 units.
Okay. And then generally the massing on Camino de los Mares is still pretty much the same. You have the four-story units. So you didn't break that down.
Three-story on
It's
the
always been
frontage.
3 stories.
Yeah, 3-story.
You haven't broken that down at all on this frontage from what you had before.
Well,
Okay.
We tried. I mean,
we pushed out the decks on there, and we also added another gable to that front end to kind of break up the length of the shed roof there. Were you looking for, in addition to that, an actual massing break?
I think we'll get into that during
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, great.
But Jennifer, if you could just scroll through the slide presentation so the public, when they make their comment, has had an opportunity to see these.
So this is the before and after. Before and after. Rear side, before and after. And these are some of the renderings. So this is before and after. This is what they're proposing now in the Paseo, more detail. Rendering showing some changes. This is the before and this is the after. This is the medical office building or health center, before and after. These are the details of the carports that are along Camino de los Mares, so that you're not looking at the metal solar panel. These are some renderings of the amenities. And this identifies the landscape plan.
That's the before.
So that's the before along the Camino de los Mares and after. You can see from here where the architectural carports are here and here. And then the remainder carports are the solar panels.
Again, that's the before and after on that Paseo.
Are there solar panels also planned on the building roof or just on the carports?
Currently just on the carports.
Carports for now.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
Okay, very good. Let's open it up for public comment at this point, so we have your comments to respond to also during discussion. If you'd like to start, introduce yourself and
Sure. My name is Donna Vidrine. I am a San Clemente resident for 22 years. And that's a little bit about me. Let's see. You're meeting here today to consider a design proposal for the old hospital site at 654 Camino de los Mares in San Clemente. The proposal is to build a 3 to 4 story, most likely 4-story, residential building for luxury senior apartments and a 2-story tall medical office building. This proposal is out of compliance with the city's CC4 zoning, exceeding height limitations, most importantly, obstructing ocean views, and also exceeding floor area ratios. The proposed height is up to 59 feet 7 inches. The proposed height exceeds the roof limitation of 45 feet. This would require a change in zoning to commercial designation from the current regional medical facility zoning district and general plan designation in which it currently sits. Who is looking out for the people of San Clemente, our San Clemente residents? San Clemente needs a healthcare district to bring emergency services and hospital services back to San Clemente. Luxury senior apartments and a medical office building is profitable, but not in the best interest of our city or our people. I respectfully request this proposal not go forward while this site is currently zoned RMF1, Regional Medical Facility Zoning District, while the feasibility of San Clemente creating a hospital healthcare district to include our neighboring beach cities continue. Memorial Care can still be a hero here in partnering with our city to bring emergency and hospital services back to San Clemente at this site zoned for that purpose. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
thank you very much. Would you like to speak also? 3 minutes.
Okay, we're a concerned resident that lives literally across the street from the site. And first of all, when we moved there, we just always assumed it would always be a hospital. And it's kind of nice having that 1-story hospital sitting there with the trees and the view. And granted, they've made some adjustments from the 4 stories down to that tower. It was going to be right smack in our view, but it's still going to be up. We're not going to be able to see the ocean. And I know views aren't that important a lot of times, but for us, it was one of the reasons why we bought, one of the reasons why we renovated and put all this money into this house. And we were hoping it would be no more than 45 feet high, which is what the senior center next door is. a senior living facility. Thank you.
Would you like to speak also? Give your name so we can have that for the record.
Rogers.
And Ken Rogers. And we purchased way back in 2011. And the scenery, the area was our forever house. 2 years ago, we did a 7-month move-out remodel, and because it's our forever house. And from our we expanded windows, we expanded rooms, we did a new deck that we go and enjoy on a nightly basis. And now that nightly basis will be a view of the proposed apartments. And I am not opposed to change and development, but I'm definitely opposed to going out and looking at a 50 some odd foot high senior luxury apartment building. And right now we're looking at, yes, the hospital, but trees and ocean. And right smack dab in the middle of it is going to be the apartments. And why not the city and memorial care combine to take the interests of the community in mind and build something that won't drastically affect it, not just us, but our neighbors in and around our community will be negatively affected. Our peace of mind, as well as our property value, will be negatively affected. Is memorial care going to take care of that? And I invited Memorial Care last week to come to our home and check out our property and get their opinion. And that was politely declined.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Larry, would you like to?
Yeah. Larry Culbertson. Although I'm active with the Historical Society, I'm not here in that capacity. I'm concerned about what I consider hyperdensity. And nothing I despise more than going up the freeway there at Crown Valley and seeing those monstrosities that they've built toward the ocean. This seems a little bit big for Clemente. It looks like you're moving in the right direction. What I saw online was buildings that were too uniform, windows up, straight up and down, need a lot more articulation. The addition of the landscaping is going to help a lot, but 4 or 5 stories of just rows of windows just doesn't look San Clemente to me. I also online saw carports. I don't know if you eliminated those. Look like I-beams, just raw I-beams with the solar panels on top. Do I understand correctly that's been eliminated? Is that what we just saw?
No, they've put decorative ones up on was Maris, but
The ones I'm talking
in the
about.
background there are,
Yeah, I don't know. if
this
those-
is the first time we've seen them also.
I don't know if those are going to be seen from the freeway, but it seems like you could do something to make those look cool. I don't know if it's going to be curly Q wrought iron or what, but it's a little bit stark. That's basically all I have. It looks like
Okay,
they're moving
thank
in the right direction, but keep going.
Any other comment from public? Okay. We will close the public, and before we start discussion, once again, we're here to look at the architecture of the project. As far as the zone change goes, that is a planning commission issue. We are making recommendations only. We don't actually hold up or bless. The applicant can always move to planning commission at any time they choose, with or without complying with our recommendations, although the chances of approval are much better if we all agree on the appropriate design and the compliance with the general plan and design guidelines. So that said, Commissioner Camp, do you have any comments to start with?
Yeah, I think you guys have made some strides in the right direction. You know, the concerns that we had last time were, from an architectural design standpoint, was to give the project some real identity. And I think that could be accomplished with a hierarchy of massing. And I think you've started to do that. You know, you're moving in that direction, kind of broken down some of the massing on Camino de los Mares. I like the idea of opening up that center and adding that other feature so it becomes more like a pedestrian element. I still think there's just too much mass on Camino de los Mares. I think, you know, it needs to be stepping from maybe a 2-level to 3, and then maybe up to a 4 as you get back into the center of the project, as opposed to having. And I do think you guys have made a lot of progress, you know, in terms of breaking that down. I'm assuming the trees that you have shown on the new elevations were already there. You just didn't show them before, so that does help.
More detail. When in doubt, I know with the tree.
Maybe did you widen the area of landscape along the front there, or did you just add more landscape?
I don't think we widened it. I think
I think we
It's
just.
pretty much the same.
I think we just beefed up the quantity and variety of trees to try to kind of create that, you know, levels of you know, tall palm trees and the middle story trees and understory.
And maybe keeping some of the existing street trees and then adding where there's gaps to comply with our design guidelines, about 30 feet apart for street trees.
And one thing that we tried to do actually is that we did take what you had mentioned before, which is just breaking down the masking, and we tried to layer that a little bit as we go along. And also, as far as there's also depth, because we create this kind of landscaping walls and layers of that as well. So we're trying to make sort of from here, Camino de los Mares to the building where it was abrupt. We tried to make it a little bit more of a transition. We also tried to make it a little bit of a seating area for like you were talking about, you know, for great for the pedestrians as well as, you know, people visually. So those are some of the things that we're trying to get at. One thing you did not, I think everyone agreed, you guys didn't like the tower, so we'll gone immediately and try to make that focal point. But also trying to security of the residents as well.
Yeah, I don't know that it was the tower, you know, the idea of the tower that we didn't like. It was the scale and proportion of the tower that you were proposing.
Okay.
I'm still not really seeing on the new elevation a lot of hierarchy. I mean, you have some relief, certainly, but I'm not seeing sort of a village effect,
on that,
which I think would help.
the longer piece there
Why don't you walk
B. Okay.
on building 2.
Would you bring up B?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind walking them through.
There it is.
Yeah,
That's
so
the one
the-
they're talking about.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, building 2 definitely, you know, is long and it has a very much a presence along Camino de los Mares. You know, our direction on that was to create some ins and outs, and I don't think we really get to see a lot of that as it you know, pushes out with the decks and adding the gable in there. But I can understand the commission's stance on breaking it down even further to get a much more less uniform look along there, and a little bit more rhythmic, so it's not so symmetrical. I think we can use the same devices we've used on the right side and apply them on the left side, breaking the plate height, popping some elements up, and moving in and out. I think there are some further things we could do there to help facilitate the concerns of the commission.
Okay, and I think what Commissioner Camp's referring to is in our design guidelines. That is the primary elevation that says, don't do this.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
And it's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
But it's certainly a big improvement from what it was.
I think so, and you can see it on the right, where you have not only the height, so not only in the vertical, but also in the horizontal.
Sure,
You're creating
Sure.
some layers, and yeah, there's you know, an attempt, I guess, at trying to create some rhythm across the face but it's two-dimensional in the way it's reading. Even,
Okay.
and I understand you never see a building in elevation,
Sure.
but you always see it at angles.
Sure.
But with the shadows and some of the forms that you have, it's pretty flat still. And I think you guys recognize
Yeah.
that. That's-
I still think there's some opportunities there.
So we'll see that.
And some things about softening up. The guidelines and all stress very much showing that the walls are thick. And maybe not all the windows, but some recessed, maybe even some other shapes rather than just stacking everything right on, a cookie cutter on each floor. To change it up, the examples that are in the guidelines.
Like an Adobe kind of wall kind of look to it.
Make it look
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way
look that
because
way, got it.
when it gets to 4 stories, Spanish colonial revival had to be thick,
Correct.
go up that high.
there. That's right. You're right.
and
You're right.
examples of maybe the windows on one level are a little different or
Sure.
something than on the next.
Got it.
Sure.
Which is
I think, didn't we show some examples?
You did. We did last time. Yes. We tried
you
to
brought
make
in
it
some too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
Yeah,
was
you
a
sent
project
that-
up
you
in
sent
Walnut
that.
Creek
Yes.
where there was a kind of a plinth. And then, I'm not big on the layer cake idea, but there was a texture change at the base.
Sure.
And then there was a different proportion with the windows. I can see you've introduced this sort of a truncated arch, it looks like, on that recess.
Yeah, basket
Um,
handle arches, yes.
Unfortunately, it doesn't really show on the elevation, does it? Whether it pops out or not.
Well, it does. I mean, you can see there's a shadow, there's kind of deep shadow underneath. So there is some relief there. But maybe you don't do the same thing all the way across.
Right.
Maybe, again, there needs to be some hierarchy. And I look at the project, and there's not a strong statement of identity.
Okay.
What is it? It's a Spanish colonial revival building, residential building on the street. But there's nothing about it that really makes a strong identity statement. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Sure. Yeah.
By the way, Commissioner Crandall, part of it also is the fact that actually, back in the day, they didn't have a air conditioning, so you needed a thick wall.
absolutely. And in the general plan, and Jennifer can, under architecture and landscaping in the urban design element, they've got a little word that says the Spanish colonial revival and create and maintain a unique atmosphere and historic identity as a Spanish village by the sea, where development exhibits high quality site planning, architecture, and landscaping to reflect a lush Mediterranean landscape character, emphasizing Spanish architecture, yada, yada, yada. And this doesn't quite give that, it's close, real close. I think you're,
Okay.
with some manipulation, if I looked at that, that could be one of the high-density projects in Irvine.
Yeah.
All right.
Off
Very
Sand
good.
Canyon or whatever there, because it's a bit of a land jam and it needs to be softened up to be a San Clemente character.
Sure. Okay.
Got it. Guys, we're obviously not designing for the Irvine company, right?
I have, and their programs are tough. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the density, is going to have a lot to do. We're not looking per se at density. We're looking at the design, but I don't think you can achieve the appropriate design without reducing the density of the project.
A little bit. I agree.
Yeah, we understand you have your marching orders in terms of the program, but it needs to be realistic, I think,
Yeah.
for this location. And I don't think 250, even if it's just in general, is a.
And if it's an exemplary example of the style, it's certainly easier to give an exception, possibly for height or whatever. But if it's just more of the same, it's awfully hard to give an exception beyond what
Yeah, I think to
the
get
new zoning would say.
Okay.
This is gonna have to be like a Santa Barbara courthouse in order to get that kind of a density approved. And that kind of architecture is hard to accomplish.
It's a
But I'm
delicate.
sure you guys can do it.
Thank you.
But as far as the zoning goes, that's going to be discussed at planning commission level. And we know it's a high interest site, so there will be discussions on that, I'm certain. Did we lose our city manager? We did.
We did. Sorry, just left.
Oh, okay.
Like it was just.
But I'm pleased with the direction you've gone. And
Okay.
can you go through what you've already thought of that you haven't presented yet? Because you said on the next.
Well, I think the devices that we've used, you can see some of it here, but as you go around to even the I believe it's the east side of the building, where it building 2. If you could switch to that one on the screen, I think it's. I'm not sure which page it is. This is the page right here. So, I think, our initial pass at it had a really long, shed roof that just created a very long building.
Yeah.
It's a long building. I'm not apologizing for the building, but I think what we needed to do was take a step back, look at how we can group it into groups of 3, massing breaks between the gable and the shed roof, popping up another shed roof to give a little bit more height in some of those units, breaking the plate line. I think these are all the elements that were lacking on the first one, and creating a little bit more of, being able to point out where your unit is. If you were living there, you say, oh, well, look at the gable there with the blue, awning coming out. That's my unit at the 4th floor. Some of the other things we did was we actually took bedrooms out in some of these locations. Is on the corner there on the right-hand side, you can see that 2-story shed element. We took a bedroom out there.
That really helps. That's the kind of thing that really helps.
It helped from the front too, I noticed that.
Yeah, I think those are the kinds of things we were looking to do. Again, without losing density, we're given a direction from the client. But in the breezeway there, you can see we've taken out a bedroom at the upper level again to create that physical break between the masses. I think those are the things that we can continue to look at to try to break the mass even more and create a little bit more of a residential scale. I think the look that we have here would even look better at a 3-story mass on the front at Camino de los Mares. So I think maybe taking some of the things we've done here that are successful, applying them to Camino de los Mares, and see how we can come up with something that the commission is.
Yeah, I think the right-hand side of the lower elevation,
Yeah, that's what.
where you've got some arches, you've got some gable ends, you've got some shed roofs, is a comfortable scale.
By the way, that side right there is Camino de los Mares, so you can kind of see how that kind of massing, you can't necessarily see from the elevation, but you see that there are 2 roof lines right there in front of you. It kind of breaks that up.
And then we kind of lost that approach off to the left where we got a little variety. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, another technique is you've got some grade chains,
Yes.
across the site, to create a sort of a plinth that breaks down the height as you get down to the lower grade or lower elevation.
Sure.
There's an opportunity.
Well, that
I
would
think,
be
to do
interesting.
that.
Yeah, where that grade is up, looks like about 9 feet, 10 feet? something
Yeah.
like that.
Full level.
It's about 10
That
feet.
if that lower level along there
Create a little belly
were
band.
unique
Yes.
as far as the window openings or
Sure.
whatever, where it looks like a base to the building.
Sure.
Hmm.
I think
And
that's
then three
the
on top of that.
Yep,
that's the
makes
interesting
a lot of
challenge you faced with the upper levels. You want to go with smaller windows. You create that hierarchy and the larger openings at the base, but those upper units are the ones that want those great views and expanses of glass. So I think that's the challenge that we'll have to look at to achieve that hierarchy. that
Well, even
were
if you
asking
don't
for.
stack them, you could put more glass on the upper levels. And if you, let's say you ran the plinth up to maybe not even a full story height, but maybe half a height, and then went all the way across, then it would become like a 1.5 level
Sure.
on the
And
lower.
I even think if it didn't run all the way across, but rather, taking the big masses and creating that belly band so that the eye doesn't run all the way across, but it breaks it up and creates a little bit more variation, again, individuality on
Okay,
it.
so it doesn't stretch out the building. That's
Exactly,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, it could even be something where you've got it, you establish a line.
It could be a color change too.
Yeah, color change, or it could be that there's elements that pop out from it
Yeah,
Sure.
that don't have that same plinth.
Yeah.
So you're creating that horizontal and vertical change.
sure.
Roof forms, big time improved.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit of a height change makes a big difference.
Huge
try to
difference.
break it
Just
up
breaking
along
the
the
eye
sides.
as it moves
Let's
across.
go
it.
one more page, Jennifer. Let's take a look at the next one too. There, okay.
Now this is the
That's the carport
that's the
entry.
west side. Yes, correct.
So that would be the
The towards
west
the,
or
Camino de los Mares is on our
no, that's
west.
toward
West.
north, I
The
guess,
west.
for Ralph's,
North
that
and west.
shopping center.
east, yeah. Okay.
There's a good rendering of that if you want to look at.
Yeah, at the very end, and then that's oh sorry, that was facing the ocean.
There's that.
There it is.
Yeah.
So we tried to use this particular view as sort of a way to break up the massing.
And you can see that maybe something going on with those windows. There's no depth to them. The shadow line on those windows, it looks like they're flush with the
Flush through the wall.
Not only that, but if you've got some different levels here,
Mm-hmm.
why do these have to be the same? And why do these have to be the same? You know, if there was a sort of.
Yeah, that's,
village-
You want some undulation, yes, you want some.
I think that would help a
variety.
lot.
Okay, okay. Okay. So keep going down this road, but just keep going, just to keep going with that.
Yeah, I think you guys are headed in the right direction.
Okay.
and I really do. And that does comply with the design guidelines because they kind of say, tell a story of the history of a building. That it doesn't have to look like it was all built
The same
at the same time.
Built over time.
So, not a good example, but things on each end are not the same. It hasn't been.
Yes, I got it. Yep.
You can.
Yeah.
There's some historic past. And
Yeah, just-
got it. So, very good.
Yeah, I think the corners, you've already started to do that. Break down the corners, that makes a big difference.
I mean, Kevin, in that Paseo area, did we not lose some bedrooms there, and did you try to create sort of an entry that way? I thought we were trying to do that as well.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah,
we
we did that. I
took
mean,
some.
so
we
you
took
just
some
can't see it in
bedrooms out.
elevations, but
Yeah.
if you actually look at this view, we tried to kind of cut away at the bedrooms and stuff like that.
Can you go back to the image with the tower? Yeah, that tower's on the front.
Where we were in the that right there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like that tower, but the idea of a tower that's sort of embedded in the architecture, might make more sense. Because then, again, though the bottom one's an improvement, you're losing a little bit of that hierarchy. So I think there's going to have to be a balance.
So you're not looking for symmetrical balance, but you're looking for asymmetric balance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, solids
Yeah.
and voids and
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, it is a little bit eclectic
Sure.
style to some degree.
I understand.
Yeah, maybe in one case you have, balconies that are on a lower mass, and another place they're sort of attached to the building. There's just a lot of things, not so it looks haphazard, but so that there's some interest, varying interest. Because it's a big building.
A
There's
little more
lot going on.
chaos.
It is.
A little variety.
Okay.
But, Mr. Camp, you can see that we did try to work with that, Paseo and try to open up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so
And-
yeah, it's a huge improvement.
Yeah, and then we tried to kind of cut away at the bedrooms there and try to create a little bit of recess there, building massing from that perspective. So we kind of, we made some efforts based on our last
And we
comments.
appreciate that.
How do we feel about those pilasters at kind of at that entry? I guess they're for the trellis.
On this elevation, which pilasters?
The bottom, yeah, right in there where Jennifer had her cursor.
Oh, that was landscape pilasters, those?
Yeah, well, no, yeah, go down. It kind of blocks the view into the, well, I guess that and the trees block the view of the ocean, which that's kind of the one corridor view that we have to the ocean.
Yeah, I think what I heard, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with it, but is that that doesn't want to be read as an opening into the project, because it's not, right?
It's not. I mean, that's the thing is that it's not. I mean, you don't necessarily want people to meander through people's backyard necessarily, but it's kind of interesting because one thing that we talked about last time was that we want to create sort of a sense of welcoming a little bit, or a sense of place, and a sense of arrival. So we kind of wanted to create that. But at the same time, it does, when you create a monument, it does block the view to the back from there. So, it's kind of a dilemma from that perspective.
Yeah, we struggled with having unwanted visitors getting behind the walls and being whatnot, and that would have given you some
Security.
protection from.
Yeah, it's a busy
Strikers
street.
coming
It's
in.
a busy street with anyone can walk around there. So, because if you go up the way we had it before,
I mean, the same thing could be done with just maybe a little wider spacing on those.
perhaps.
Well, I guess now that I look at it, when I first looked at it from afar, it looked like there was like a curved alcove thing there, but then when I zoomed in, no, it wasn't. It's pilasters, but then behind it, the trees are blocking the ocean.
So maybe we shouldn't have trees.
Maybe we should just have low,
Low edges.
maybe even a series of fountains or something.
Yes.
Like something low. I don't know. I mean, to me, that corridor, visual corridor, is really important.
Okay.
So that's one
my
area
feeling.
where Paul's,
How do you guys feel about
Palms might be appropriate because they don't block.
it? Yeah, that'd be better.
So you're
Street level
taking hardscape wise, you're okay with the hardscape, but landscaping and behind it is what you're saying is obstructing the views.
Again, I think if this is going to be a significant statement, you've got these vertical walls on either side of it.
Sure.
Maybe that's an area that needs to be broken down too. In terms of mass, I think you did widen it though, didn't you?
It's a little bit, yeah.
we
slightly.
did. We tried to.
Yeah.
As you can see, we tried to make it.
Again,
So if you use some of those techniques and they wrap into that center
sure.
paseo, I think that's going to be helpful.
Okay, let's take a look at site plan also here. I was a little concerned that the only architectural carports are the very first ones. And then I look at page H, Jennifer. And this is why we asked, or I asked, I guess, that you show us where the carports are.
Sure.
That's a pretty brutal entry with that high-tech carport right there at the main entry porte cochere.
That is, isn't that solar?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So would you like us to take that out and basically?
Well, I think it needs to be something architectural,
So you're thinking
Because that-
something like a clay.
because that
tile?
will be seen from Los Mares.
Okay. So you're saying perhaps at the first layer of it that you can see over there, to because we do want to provide solar a little bit, right?
And you have an opportunity on the main roofs to do it too. And around the rear, let's see, where's my site plan?
I think if we do that, we want to put them on the south facing roofs so that the people up on the hill don't have to look at the solar
Yeah, that'd be
panels.
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
So it,
Yeah.
South end or west.
what's that?
South end or
West,
ocean
yeah,
side.
southwest is where your sun is.
Sure.
So that might be and I'm assuming, I didn't see a roof plan. But we did the other one over by the church off of Frontera that had wells, and they had their solar panels also in the wells.
Sure. We could look at that. Obviously, that there's a lot of the mechanical equipment in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd have to
So consider that,
Yeah.
particularly that's exposed, because we want to keep the character, and I think we lose that quite a bit.
The minute we go away from it.
Sure. Okay.
What kind of mechanical equipment are you gonna have up there? Those condensers?
Condensers, yeah.
I mean, by the way,
That's
just-
one of the reasons why our roof is what it is to shield that from view. You know, so it does. You know, we were talking about the height of the building.
Right.
We were raising up the mansard to protect a lot of that condenser, so you can't see it. You know, it's
Can you see it
different.
from?
So
above?
what's our top of the plate right now? It's about
If you're high enough,
Actually,
sure,
it's
you're going to
not.
look down
But then,
on that,
yes,
and
just
you're
we're
going to see
trying to
them as
protect
much
the
as
views.
possible. We're going to try to
Right.
protect those views.
See, did that roof plan clearly indicate what?
It's not in there, but it's here.
Is there a roof line?
It's in the signal set.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's not in that.
It's not in the
Oh,
latest
before and
handout,
after.
but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Camp, one thing that we
Like
kind of talked about is
2.6.
that, you know, without the master and all that stuff, we're, you
There you
know,
go.
to the top of the plate, we're talking 42 feet. But basically, we're trying to, you know, cover up the stuff. That's
Right.
what's getting us.
Yeah, you can't see that in the section too.
No.
What sheet is that?
I wanted to see if we had a roof plan that highlighted what exceeds the
85
Oh, the height.
prescribed height limit.
That
do
might
have-
be
We do have that
back a
height,
couple.
the roof.
First
I
one?
think no, in that one, but just back a couple sheets from where you are.
Let me see, let's take a
Don't
look.
touch the equipment.
He's the youngest member of our team, and you can't, you know.
Yeah, you
look
should
up.
know all about
Yeah, you
technology.
should know all about technology.
There should be a
That's what I
diagram.
thought.
There it
There it
is.
is, right there.
Right there.
Right. And this actually, what it does is it cuts the 45 feet from the Camino Los Mares on the right, on the left-hand side, and then that shows what the roof line looks like from there.
So what percentage of the roof is that? About a little more than 50%,
What is that?
width-wise. Exceeds
well,
the
that's-
45-foot level.
Yeah, I would look at it's. I would look at this where you're seeing the red portion right there, which is going to be 4 stories, and then that red portion over there, which is also 4 stories. That's a good portion of those roofs are going to exceed the 45-foot height. The plate height is actually at about 42 and change, and then from there, you know, it mansards up.
Do we have the you know, like the top of the roof, let's say on the left building there, you know, you said you raised it to protect the view of the mechanicals.
Sure.
How high above the mechanicals would you say it is? Or how high above the,
That's a great question.
because it might be unnecessarily high. I mean, anybody down at ground level
It's not
will
going
not be able
Will
to
not
see
see
it.
it.
I think
They could be below the top of the mechanicals, they're not gonna see it.
Sure.
The only people we're protecting is a few
You
homes.
can't get
that
far enough
see-
away from it.
About
See point of stage or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, and if you're above, you're going to see it. anyway.
You're going to see them. It is quite a bit
What's that?
further away. Sure. It's
See point of
quite.
stage.
Well, but on the only ones that we're talking, you're gonna see them anyway, if you're above. It would only be if you're like right at the same height. And only thing that would protect you is any height
I
along
saw somewhere
Camino de los Mares, but all of the sides of the
something
back.
showing a few over the top of your.
And yet that's where this height analysis shows that's where their issue is.
Oh.
Relative height.
yeah. And then,
Yeah,
and
I
then
think-
the other
I
thing
think
is,
it's one of
we're
the
on the
sheets.
It was a cross-section with
Towards the
the
end,
upper
yeah.
lights, lots.
If you look at this right here, it actually slopes down about 14 feet this way.
Okay.
And
I think it's maybe the last architectural
Yeah.
exhibit after that
Right.
roof
But
one.
the reality is when you're looking at it from.
Is that it right there?
Basically,
Yes.
it's flat roof.
Right.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. The
Okay.
side drops away.
Yes, drops.
Yeah,
about
it's similar
50
to what the senior housing development does.
I'm gonna ask the public, what street are you on?
Campanilla is the first street on your left as you enter the community.
We're number 15.
15.
Which one?
15.
15.
Just right in front of the hospital.
Okay, so how many
Pass that
houses
down. I don't know
up
if
from
they
the
have an
gate?
opportunity to see this.
Oh,
I believe
15
they have.
would probably be 7 or 8.
We're the 8th
Okay.
house up.
See that?
Yeah, but I don't think that's the way it's actually gonna look.
That's, if that
That's
is
it, then
nirvana.
that's okay.
That is nirvana, and I
Civil,
highly disagree.
that shows the correct elevations?
So what are you saying?
Well,
You're
that's
saying you don't,
higher up looking
you don't
down.
believe it?
You're down
No,
the
I
street
don't.
lower, that's
No,
probably
honestly.
looking down from Marbella
Well,
maybe.
you can see on the right photo there where she's moving the cursor.
Uh-huh.
That's the location of where that perspective is from.
And what is that? What address is that?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's on
It's on the
Campanilla.
lowest First Street.
Okay,
Okay,
that's where we
we're
are.
a single story, probably 7 or 8 houses up from Marbella, which is the entry from the
Okay.
yard.
Yeah, we're the 8 house up.
So we're talking about the views here. Hey, Kim, do
So-
we want to show them?
I mean, we don't have
Yep.
an ordinance that protects
Well-
views, but we are sensitive
I
to them.
know.
So-
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we're
we
trying to
understand that.
protect
Yes,
the
totally understood.
new tenants' views while.
Well, when it's an exception, it means more to protect a view
Thank
than.
That would be perfect if we kept that. I'd be okay with that.
Commissioner Crandall,
Mhm.
we actually have run all the view simulations for all the units up there from up there.
Can I?
Oh, wonderful.
We're gonna bring that
Yeah, we
later
can bring it
for-
tonight we're bringing that to the HOA meeting.
So-
But
so
can I
you
ask
can
a
see it.
question though?
Certainly.
Is it purview of this commission is that part of your decision-making process too, as far as the views are concerned?
No,
Okay, I
but
just wanna-
an exception in height is.
Gotcha, okay, very good.
And we want to,
It
when
needs
we're
to be
looking at the
appropriate for the
architecture,
design.
height is an issue,
Sure,
and we've got an envelope to work in.
Yep.
But we're exceeding the envelope.
okay.
Commissioner Crandall, when I'm a pedestrian, I live in Forester Ranch, so I'm traveling up there a lot. And when I'm a pedestrian or in my car, those ocean views are important too.
Oh, absolutely. We do have view corridors. We don't have a private view protection. So,
You weren't here at the last meeting, and we made a specific point to the applicant to say, hey, these views of the ocean are really important. And so that way, like my comment earlier, hey, we need to remove this landscape here because that's the view corridor, right? People need to see the ocean, they want to see the ocean. So we are sensitive to
I
that.
mean,
Thank you.
the whole character of the town is the ocean,
Sure, of course.
you know.
So
Spanish Village by the sea.
I want to respond to your question about maybe those roofs are a little bit exaggerated and can they be shrunk down a little bit so that they're not as tall? To answer your question, yes, they could be.
Okay.
We could take a look at that.
Yes, we can take a look at it.
And that helps you,
Right,
because then you're, maybe
brings
you're
it
not
down.
over in some space or you're over by less.
right.
So just keep that in mind.
Every little
because-
bit
If that first
We
number
actually
is a
looked at it.
4,
We
I think
actually
it's going to
looked
be
at
better than a 5.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can lower those for sure, absolutely.
Okay, we want to make sure we do the best we can
And
there.
maybe that's strategic, like I said, there's a difference between, they're sensitive to the Camino Las Maras side,
Sure.
right? But that's not where you have your height issue anyway, so maybe around the back, from the ground level, nobody's gonna see them no matter what.
Sure.
And any ridge that's parallel with their view rather than perpendicular obviously
Makes a
obstructs the
difference.
paths.
Yes.
That is true, that is absolutely true.
It's a tough site. 'Cause you gotta deal with every direction, every corner.
Mhm.
Well, and we looked at it and I said, well, what's the top of our plate? Because we talked about how these are trying to protect, from view from the equipments. Well, why are we doing that necessarily, right? I mean, because then that exceeds, that's where our height is exceeded. So I was just like, well, maybe we can bring it down so that we're water.
Okay. Any other comments at this time?
Just an overarching comment is, this is a big improvement.
Oh,
I mean, it's very obvious, and we really appreciate the effort that's gone into it.
Great.
Thank you so much.
And look forward to seeing the
Yes.
revised
Yes,
that you
absolutely.
commented on that will be presented.
Okay.
And good public input, appreciate.
Thank you for allowing us to speak. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
absolutely. We're glad to have you here. And we look forward to seeing you real quick, and we'll keep this thing moving through
Yeah.
design review, because again,
Absolutely.
these are recommendations. And then we can bite the bullet on the hard issues at the next level.
When does the commission meet again?
We meet every 2
Let's
weeks.
see.
Every 2
Ne-
weeks.
Next,
It'll be August 17th.
August 17th.
No,
No, I'm sorry, August
Well-
3rd.
but
We're not.
he said commission, but do you mean the design review?
I mean, sorry,
committee?
yeah, the design review, this commission, yeah.
Yeah, I can look at the dates.
Okay.
I've got dates here. I don't know how long it would take Jennifer to get a packet together, but
Well, we show up every other Wednesday, but I think, don't they have a submittal deadline?
I'm sure they do, yeah.
8:10.
Yes, staff will work with the applicants. to,
8:10 would be the
ensure
next
timely
one,
result,
or
to the commission.
8:24.
8:24.
I may or may not be able to make 10th. My son's moving into his college.
Where?
He's going to, he chose to actually go more local, one of the Claremont colleges,
Oh.
Pomona College.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's turned on Cornell and Dartmouth.
Oh, wow.
He plays football, he's a quarterback.
What major do you think you want?
Economics.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Great. Well, thank you very much for
Good
the
working
input. We really
session,
appreciate
and,
it. Very informative.
we actually have more information than we usually see on a project.
Oh.
We don't get into the working drawing level of engineering and grading and all, but,
Yeah, but on this side,
yeah, you needed it to design it.
Okay. Well, thank you very
You
much.
mentioned, but I didn't hear much discussion of. You talked about like maybe the window depth being with the plane of the stucco. Were
Yeah.
you
Oh,
asking
yeah.
to recess that some?
Getting some relief, so there's some,
Spoken at length about that.
Yeah.
Because we talked about Adobe and how that kind of, where's
Got
the
it.
thickness and all that stuff. So
Got it,
we talked
okay.
about that.
Yeah, sorry, I was late.
No worries, no worries.
Can
I
staff-
studied architecture myself, so I'm gonna just.
Can staff just clarify that the recommendation of the committee is not being forwarded to the planning commission, but rather coming back to the committee?
it was actually offered by the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
When is the next meeting?
We don't know when this will be scheduled. It's the 10th and the 23rd of August.
24th.
24th, excuse me.
It's
It's one of those two.
Will it be on the agenda on the
And the
website?
question is.
It should be, yes. It does need to be noticed.
Sure.
If you would like to leave your contact information,
Sure,
staff
sir.
can send you an update
Oh, that
or
would be
a
wonderful.
copy of the agenda when it is.
Thank you.
Leave-
Who do we leave it with?
I would say Jennifer.
Sure.
one of the things you guys should probably keep in mind, we already know this, but tonight, make sure that the
Great to see you.
group is aware that we're looking at the design, not necessarily the
Your
zone
son.
change, because that's gonna be a focus.
That's the hot ticket. If still want a hospital, we'll dump out of those.
I don't have any control over
No, I
that.
know.
That's
I'm
great
just saying,
information on the
It's
design.
gonna keep going in that
That's
direction,
not really all
so
the time
to be more productive tonight, and you guys are probably gather
I
that.
think we can get there. I think we can get there. Obviously, there's going to be naysayers on it.
Does he know where he is on?
So, but hopefully they understand that we're moving in the right direction, and we're hearing what they're saying, and we're trying to accommodate all that stuff.
So he's the.
You guys are
Because everybody
architects, you know
Oh, I
we
know.
have to go.
Oh, yeah. What high school is it? Tough one?
Okay.
So let's do the formalities here. The next item is new business. We have none.
Yes, I think you're
Old business, we have none. Any oral communication?
They can leave, right?
Okay.
See you guys.
And do we have a motion for adjournment? We're going to meet on
I tonight with them, and
Oh, so that's not gonna be
informal.
another different.
That's not gonna be part of
No, this is going to be an
Okay.
informal.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second it.
Awesome. You're looking good.
We'll have a vote.
Aye?
Fran was a vote.
Aye. And I abstained from the minutes.
Thank you so much.
All right, good seeing you.
Nice to see you.
But
I
we
won't
have
be there
you as a
tonight,
tenant.
I won't be there tonight, but one thing that we try to
Okay, so now we are going to have an informal one with Jonathan